I hear agents say, awesome, because they're just trying to get through their questionnaire and they're hoping to get all no's. And when they get a no, they say, awesome. Although the client might have said, I lost my wife to cancer and I had cancer, but I'm all clear now. Awesome. Well, he also said he lost his wife. You're not listening and you're failing to build rapport. You're not communicating on a personal human level. So this can lead to mistrust and disengagement, and they recognize that you're there for you and not there for them.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. Roger and I here, we are breaking down why agents are losing sales. That's what
when
we're
you're
talking
losing
about.
sales and you don't know why.
That's the worst feeling ever.
Well, because you don't know why.
No, it feels like you're lost in the woods.
Or somewhere else.
Yes.
Have you ever been lost, Chris?
Oh, dude. It is the worst
Have you ever been
feeling.
lost?
Me? Yeah, I have.
Have you ever been lost in a
I
foreign
like talking
country?
about it. Foreign country?
No.
No. I've been lost in the woods. A rescue team found me 3 weeks later. And that's not a true story. But there are times, I will tell you, like, even with GPS, there's this anxiety that builds in St. Louis.
I've been with you,
specifically.
bro, with the GPS running, and we've missed our exits.
Yes, and the anxiety moment of why it didn't work. I followed what it said. I did exactly what it told me to do, and it didn't work.
That's what you think.
That's what you think.
Because I've been with you.
Yes.
You get lost in a conversation, and we're 2 exits past where we were supposed to get off.
Yes. Or it shows the sign, and I see a green sign that matches that. The words are different, and I follow that path. Yes.
I love it. Before the GPS even kicks in, you just get out on the highway and take a direction.
That is very
start going.
Very true. I just start
If you
driving.
ever driven with Chris, this is normal protocol.
I just start driving.
He just starts driving. I'm like, Chris, can you stop, please?
So
Let's
if you
just get a directional control.
I'm sure 90% of our audience can relate to that. And maybe you didn't get the sale, and you didn't know why, and it felt like you were following a path, and you got that anxiety, anger, rage. Afterwards, I can relate to you in that moment. Worse, I don't know what's worse: not getting the sale and not knowing why, or getting a sale and not knowing why. Which is worse, do you think, Roger?
Well, that thing where you say you're about incompetence.
Mm.
You know where you know that you're where you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, you don't know what you don't know.
You know, cognitively, and I don't know how.
I know what
There's
you're
4
about.
stages.
It's a progression. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a progression, and the last one is I know I suck.
Yes,
I think that's like the third one, and then
I
you
need
actually
the GPS.
and then you start mastering it.
Our goal is to help you understand at the end of the sale or this end of your presentation why you didn't get the sale or why you got it. That's really the focus of the last few podcasts that we've done.
And I think it was when I was in college and I was taking a course on communications and public speaking that I really started to understand the way you speak to people can either move them, create anxiety in them, create fear, create optimism, create hope, build trust, break trust. Like I started to learn that there was an art and a science to this, and it goes to our communication, our human communication. Now, I think depending on how you grew up, if you even had to fight for a word at the table because there was a lot of you,
which is your case,
right?
Yes.
Or you had to, or you were an only child, or if you actually had regular meals where you engaged in regular conversation and everyone wasn't on their phones all the time.
Right.
I think we've lost something with communication.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I feel like a lot of times we're talking about things that probably wouldn't have to be talked about 15, 20 years ago. But now we're teaching people to talk better or communicate better. And that is one of the key reasons that we see in our conversations with agents is a communication style that they're pinned in on, and they don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
They don't even realize that they've communicated poorly. And I think on our topic today, what we want to do is kind of look at the communication pitfalls.
And some people may feel like we're going to beat you up for your grammar now.
Yeah.
This is not about grammar, although I do think we've lost a lot when it comes to grammar, especially when I hear, hey, me and Chris did this.
Yes.
Me and Chris did it.
Yeah.
I just
Some people don't even know why you're saying that.
I know. It's so awful when I hear that. Yeah. But that's not what this episode's about. It's not about grammar. It's about how we communicate to clients and what they hear by what we're saying or not saying. Communication. And I think a lot of us lose sales because of poor communication, and we don't even know that we're doing it. So let's talk about some common communication pitfalls. That you see, that we hear from agents, that we recognize, that we want to address on this episode, so you guys get them. And if you're all ready to shut this off, this might be the one you need to listen to. Because as we were going through it, I said, Chris, this one's not super sexy. Like, it's not like the view count. I don't know if the view count. Chris says, I don't care what the view count is. This is the necessary episode. People need to know this.
That's right.
They don't want to hear it, but they need to know it.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, all right, let's do it.
We aren't the hero you wanted, but we're the hero you deserve.
What movie line is that, Adam?
It's something like that.
What movie line?
It's Batman.
It's Batman? Batman.
Oh, you can't
right.
use it?
Oh,
well, we gave it a shot. All right. First things first. Sometimes as agents, we feel like it's important that we sound like we know a lot of things. Like we are the smartest person in the room. And that doesn't translate well. So we'll have jargon-heavy language in our conversation. Do you ever see an agent do that? You ever do that?
Maybe sometimes. I was probably super sensitive to it. Because when you're sitting in a living room, we were always face to face, and so it's easier to see your client, who they are. I think sometimes when our younger agents get on the phones, they can't picture this senior client sitting in their house and what that looks like or feels like. I think when you're sitting in front of them, it probably takes on a little bit of a different perspective, and your language may slow down. Your speech may slow down a little bit. Your tone gets, you're a little more sensitive with your tone. You're probably speaking a little more clearly and loudly based on if you see them turning up a hearing aid, like simple cues like that. But one of the things is that we see is jargon-heavy language. So what I mean by that is like common vernacular among your generation or in the insurance space.
Yes.
And so we start speaking about terms in insurance or language that's common among our generation that is not common for the client.
Yeah.
What are some examples?
Well, an example would be like the rider language, terminal
illness rider.
Terminal illness rider.
And it comes with all these benefits, a terminal illness rider, a confined care rider, a critical illness rider.
Yeah.
And you think they understood everything you just said.
Correct. Yes. Another one is, I think the health questions. Folks are used to their doctors talking to them in a certain way, and they don't understand transient ischemic attack, or they don't understand the language of congestive heart failure. They never said that to me. They never said it. And we get through the underwriting process, and then boom, it shows up. Congestive heart failure was one of the issues.
And then you say the client lied to me.
Right.
liar, pants on fire. I saw that in a Slack channel this week about, I quoted 2 people, got them through, and they got declined. Both of them got declined in underwriting. Clients are liars. Buyers are liars, pants on fire. I'm like, and what I was thinking was that agent just didn't do their underwriting.
Correct.
And maybe they didn't explain well enough for the client to answer properly.
Yeah.
There's 2 sides of that. Which one was it?
And I would agree with that. So that would be an option. This was an important one to me because I remember listening to Zig Ziglar and hearing him say that people say no because they don't know. They don't have enough information. So I would start to feed information. how old the company was, how many bricks were in the building, things, AM Best rating. You can say that stuff, but that's not the thing that moves the needle. That doesn't make them feel like you're coming alongside of them. You're talking at them many times in those cases. So
I think sometimes our agents don't even know how to pronounce some of the words on the application. And they're actually talking with clients, trying to read an application for the first time, and they can't even say transient ischemic attack.
Yeah.
No one's ever told them how to say it.
Yes.
And they're trying to say it the way they think it's said. They've never Googled it or looked it up or done an audible, nothing. Yeah. And they're saying it completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Cardiomyopathy.
Yeah. Cardiomyopathy. There's
you hear how it just flows.
There's so many of them.
I'm in France ordering a croissant. Croissant. I said it. That's how you say it. Or a crescent. One or the other. That's not on the application. If it were, I'd be in trouble.
Crescent? They don't say crescent anywhere for that.
No. Well, at Hardee's, they do.
They say
just. They aren't sponsoring us, so forget that.
So jargon-heavy language. It could be internal life insurance language.
Yes. Health questions.
Yeah. Beneficiary.
That's
just
a big
the
one.
word beneficiary sometimes to a client. They're thinking, who's the beneficiary? And you might think, well, everyone knows what a beneficiary is.
Right. And I feel like those type of words and the way you say it pushes you away from the client.
Of course.
You don't even realize
you're
it's
alienating
happening.
yourself
Yes.
because they don't want to ask you what it means because it makes them feel stupid. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they'd rather just stay in a place of slight confusion rather than expose themselves as being stupid to ask clarifying questions. And you've distanced yourself from them, and you don't even know it. Are you ready to launch your insurance career? Excel Solutions is your go-to leader in life, accident, and health insurance pre-license training. Their cutting-edge e-learning platform is packed with rich content. Think interactive assessments, engaging videos, and customized learning paths, all tailored to your learning style. Being students ourselves, we've trusted Excel now for years to deliver top-notch training, offering high pass rates. Their streamlined prep review courses and the exam simulator are really your secret weapons to nailing the state exam the very first time. Now, you thought it couldn't get any better. Well, it just did. Life Insurance Academy listeners, you receive an epic 50% discount, reducing the regular course fee from $199 to only $99. So, all you have to do is use partner code LIA at liapodcast.org/Excel. Now, Excel spells XCEL. So don't think about it any longer. Dive headfirst into your insurance career with Excel Solutions' premier pre-license training with that exclusive 50% discount just for you. Get the code, get licensed, and excel in your insurance career.
Yeah, another one would be like acronyms, like CHF.
CHF,
Yeah.
COPD. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say COPD is probably more common than saying chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Yeah, but I do think having some clarifying language, like do you have trouble breathing? Are you taking a nebulizer like the thing they put medication in and it blows smoke out? Like sometimes I'm
mist,
smoke,
Chris.
They're like, heck yeah, I use one of those machines.
That's a hookah.
That's a hookah. This is where the edit button comes in handy, but we don't use one.
That's for the clubs at night.
That's right. You use a hookah? Yeah, the mist.
The nebulizer.
Yeah. Have you had water stored in your chest in regards to
congestive heart failure?
Yeah. Just
have you ever had
something
any fluids?
that goes with
Have you ever had any fluids build up on your lungs or in your chest? Mm-hmm. Congestive heart failure.
Correct.
It's called congestive heart failure.
Yeah. And they'll say, "Oh yeah, the doctor mentioned that when I was there."
Yeah. But they may say no to congestive heart failure.
Right. Because they didn't.
They think it has to do with your heart, and you're asking them about fluid.
And it could very well, in their mind, mean a heart attack.
Correct.
That didn't happen.
And they want to let you know they didn't have a heart attack, because that's what that sounded like.
Yeah, that sounds way worse.
So jargon-heavy language. Other things would be things like
This is a big one.
Putting slang. I would say using slang.
Slang. That's
Like
that's almost like
you
the
can get
other end.
10K.
Oh, dude,
You can get
cringe.
10K for only
Yes.
$25 a month.
Yes.
10K for only $25 a month to a senior who's thinking about putting a burial plan in place.
Hey, lady, you want to buy some insurance? Look
can
at my
get you
briefcase.
10K.
I get you 10K, 25K. You want 25? How about 30K? I'll hook you up. That's what it feels like.
I know.
Stepping into an alley and buying. I'm so sorry if that's what you're doing. I sound like such a jerk, but I'm just saying, don't do it. Please.
So, jargon-heavy language. Be very sensitive to who you're speaking to, your audience, and then making things easy to understand.
Yeah.
Avoid industry language and avoid jargon that's specific to your generation.
Speak in a way that is at the level of the person you're communicating to.
I bet me even saying the word jargon, people are going to go, what is jargon?
Yeah.
What is jargon?
Words. I didn't Google it. I just know it
Let's
means...
Google the word jargon, Adam.
What is jargon? I was going to say jargon
Special
probably
words
knows.
or expressions that are used by a particular profession or group and are difficult for others to understand.
Perfect word.
That's what
Roger.
jargon
Well
is.
played.
Jargon.
Well played.
We
Jargon.
don't use jargon.
Jargon.
All right, let's go to number 2.
Okay. Active listening.
Or lack of active listening.
Yes. Yeah. Active listening's great. A lack of it is bad.
Yeah. So the second common pitfall, I think, would be lack of active listening. I would say there's things. Chris and I do this to each other sometimes. Like he'll be thinking about something, I'll be thinking about something. Halfway through his sentence, I want to interrupt and tell him the thing that I'm thinking about.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
you
yeah.
discovered something on AI today. And we were having a full-on conversation, and you go, watch this. And you turned around your computer, and you showed me an AI-generated video. I was like, where did that come from? Like, you were waiting to tell me that in the middle of my, me talking to you about something completely different. You were just waiting for me to take a breath.
Talking.
So you could show me something. That's called lack of active listening.
Yes.
Now, in that moment,
I'll own that.
what we were talking about wasn't, extremely vital, right? It wasn't, we were just having a casual conversation. But that's just an example.
Yeah.
When you're waiting for people to stop talking so you can say words and you're not listening to what they're saying.
Guilty. I don't even know what you were talking about. But that's true. It's true. The thing I love about this business too is in order to sell, you have to get better in these areas. And it makes you a better person. Like,
Well, at least seem to be a better person.
I would hope my wife.
I don't know if your character changes.
We have a call. We got a caller coming in. My wife would say I was a better listener.
You had that call coming in an episode ago when you had that 1989 ringtone.
That's right.
That was her trying to get a hold of you, and you hung up. You ended the call. You ended the
I
call.
would never do that to my wife. Never.
Well, you did it on that one.
It wasn't my wife.
Sure, now you say that.
Active listening.
So interrupting or failing to acknowledge what a client says, they don't feel heard. They feel like you were just waiting for them to stop so you could speak.
I feel.
How many of you know somebody like that?
Yeah.
How many of you have been somebody like that? I'm guilty. That's another common pitfall.
I feel like that happens a lot when you're first learning your script and trying to get through the script. And you're almost afraid of a conversation coming up because you don't know what's going to happen. Like you're getting off script. Like I'm lost in the woods now. I think people feel that way on the front side. It's probably happening more. The other times I think it's happening is people who are directive and they're leading with confidence and they're just directing the conversation and don't even realize those openings that are there in being present in a conversation with somebody and asking a follow-up question. So,
yeah. Lastly, I would say another common pitfall that you need to pay attention to is failing to build rapport. We talk about this a lot, especially when we talk about, discovering the stakes, addressing the stakes, raising the stakes. It's important for you to build rapport. Rapport is not just asking a question, they answer, you ask another question, they answer. Rapport is two-way communication. You have to share a little bit of your life as well. And building rapport, hearing what they say, and engaging them on the story that's important to them and being sensitive to how they say it, man, it either connects you or pushes you away.
Correct.
How many times have we heard agents sitting with a client? They'll say, have you had any, health issues, anything like that? Well, I had cancer 2 years ago. Well, that's 2 years ago. That's great. It's just an odd way to respond to, I had cancer 2 years ago.
Clear disconnect.
Yeah. Now, if you pause a little minute, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Have you had any recurrence? Did you have any side effects? Is it all cleared up? No, it's all clear. I've gotten the all clear last week. Well, congratulations. I'm excited to hear that. That's different than saying awesome. I hear agents say awesome because they're just trying to get through their questionnaire and they're hoping to get all no's.
Yeah.
And when they get a no, they say awesome. Although the client might have said, I lost my wife to cancer and I had cancer, but I'm all clear now. Awesome. Well, he also said he lost his wife.
Yeah.
You're not listening. And you're failing to build rapport. You're not communicating on a personal human level. So this can lead to mistrust and disengagement, and they recognize that you're there for you and not there for them.
You in our training had talked about attunement and a tuning fork. Like when I look at rapport, I'm not a huge fan of the word because I feel like there's an agenda attached to it, but that's my baggage that goes with words sometimes.
Rapport?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I hear it always in the context of a sale, okay? But when I look at Webster's dictionary, which I pulled up, it's a friendly, harmonious relationship, a relationship characterized by agreement, mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible or easy. So in that definition is an implied trust that is built based on how you respond, listen, communicate, connect with a client, whether face-to-face or on the phone.
Yeah. So let's talk about some tips for improving communication skills. We'll give you some takeaways and then we'll wrap. This one's pretty simple. So jargon-heavy language, first of all. Let's get away from that. Become an active listener. Don't continue to have fail to actively listen and then failing to build rapport. Those are the three pitfalls. Now we're going to just talk about some ways to improve that, so you can become become a better communicator. Let's start with active listening and some of the techniques maybe that people can use or new agents can use or implement to become what I would call a great active listener.
For us, I think asking good questions, we emphasize that a lot with the client, whether it's a clarifying question, whether it's a stakes question, maybe you're just curious about something. In some cases, if you're face-to-face, you're going to, and actually if you're in telesales, you may want to try this, just using nonverbal cues like nodding. And if you're face-to-face, you're going to have eye contact with the person to show engagement. But when you're on the phone, it's nonverbal. It's more caveman nonverbal, but it's the
That is verbal.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, but it's
words.
it's a cue. It's a cue that you're listening.
Correct.
So if someone says something that's sensitive,
yeah,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
You've communicated something to them by just pausing, but they can't see the concern on your face. You have to give it to them audibly.
Yeah.
Now you're communicating over the phone in a different tone, and it's allowing people to see and hear that you have empathy and are actively listening to what their real needs are. So while they may be nonverbal, as in words, face to face, yes, nodding, eye contact, sensitivity shown in the face. Over the phone, it's you gotta pause.
One of our agents today texted me and said, "Hey, I feel like I'm getting this down. I understand some things. I'd love to be involved in some training new agents." And I was like, "Sounds great." And he said, "What do you think about that?" I said, "That sounds great. Tell me more about that." I was just messing with him. Tell me more about that. And he's like, "I don't know if you're joking with me or you really want me to tell you more about that." And that is one of those things you can say, tell me more about whatever it is that they mentioned. Like I had a policy, but I let it lapse. Tell me more about that. and they can give you. They'll tell you the affordability issues. They'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
It's like if you struggle with the questions on what to ask, you can get a lot of mileage with saying the last statement as a question, saying, tell me more about that, and using nonverbal cues like,
And why is that important to you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, that will transform your sales. Just those little pieces right there.
These are open-ended questions, by the way.
Right.
Right. These are open-ended questions or directives because, tell me more about that's not a question. You're directing them to do something.
Yeah.
But if you say it properly,
That would be like a discovery. If I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
something more, that's a discovery type of question. Yeah.
paraphrasing the client's words, repeating it back to them, asking open-ended questions to encourage dialogue and go deeper, and then using nonverbal cues or audible sounds, at least that are non-words, to let them know you're listening. Let's talk about simplifying language a little bit.
One thing on the paraphrasing, I do want to say is it's as simple as what I'm hearing you say. What I'm hearing you say is that your family is important. Is that right? After they've answered the question, so that or Eleanor's important. And you don't want to leave her with a mess. That's what I heard you say. Is that right? Yeah. So along those lines, that's the type of conversation that we're having with people. The paraphrasing.
Yeah, I would say on simplifying language, you want to take this approach. How can I simplify my language to the client without sacrificing the professionalism that this needs and the seriousness that this needs also to get there? So if I'm communicating to a senior and I'm asking them about congestive heart failure, I may say things like, have you ever had any issues with fluid on your chest or in your lungs that made it hard or felt heavy to breathe? They call it congestive heart failure. I know the word heart is in there, but it's a fluid buildup. Have you ever had any issues with that? No. Like, that's a very simple way to say something and make people feel like they are with you and you understand them and they understand you without them feeling like, I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to say no.
Yes. And even how you said it, Roger, like the word extended a little bit. Like, this is the next level stuff, is slowing it down so it's heard, like congestive heart failure. Now, I know that word heart isn't it. Like, you're explaining that in a way that it's accessible. I want to take things from the top shelf to the middle shelf, right where their eyes are. And I think that's a great way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people get stuck on things like, yes, I'm diabetic. I take metformin. Well, what were your A1Cs? They'll jump in immediately, and they're asking for more, and especially in simplified issue sales, you don't necessarily need to know what their A1Cs are. Right. Now you're going down a rabbit hole, and the client may not know what they are, or they may not even be familiar with what exactly that is. They know it's a number that the doctor gives them sometimes when they go, but they don't pay particular attention to it because they don't really feel like they have an issue, and they take the pills the doctor says, and otherwise they know they're fine. And doctor says, yeah, your A1Cs are blah, blah, blah. And then what are your A1C levels? Are they above 0.8? Now you're getting really technical. You just got super technical, like you're a super smart human, and they're supposed to be super smart with you. Yeah. And you might put them in a place of not knowing how to respond, and they don't want to be embarrassed, so they give you wrong information.
Correct.
Simplify your language. So I would encourage you to explain complex issues in layman's terms and then check for understanding. Does that make sense? Am I being clear? Yeah. And they can say yes or no. And I can explain that further if you'd like.
Complex language that separates too. Like, I think the word premium, when we're talking about affordability, we want to make sure that what you invest in a plan for Mary, that's something that's affordable to you. Like examples like that, beneficiary, you mentioned that earlier. That's a technical term that they have to figure something out. We just want to eliminate all that. Just make it.
So don't say the word premiums.
You can say premium. But
explain what it is.
I'm explaining that what's more important than premium is the affordability. What the affordability for what? The investment they're putting into a plan to protect Mary. I'm going to explain it in those terms versus talking about premium.
Yeah, we're going to keep your premiums affordable.
Yeah. Well, right. Is that the language? Versus
that's industry language.
That's industry language versus
that's jargon.
Investing in a plan for Mary to make sure that she's taken care of when you're gone. and we're going to find something that's affordable for you.
Yeah.
That's
And we think premium is the natural language to say, and they don't know what that means.
correct.
So simplifying your language. Those are some ways that you can do that.
Another big one, which I think you are a master at, like you have your black belt Jedi in, is engaging storytelling.
I do love to tell stories. Sometimes they get too detailed.
I wasn't going to say that.
But
You ever driving down the road and you see a stop sign? You know those red stop signs that have 8 sides on them and the white letters? Is that close? Yeah, somebody spray painted hammer time underneath. But everybody's like, yes, I've seen those signs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, engaging in storytelling, because there's power in when you tell a story, especially if it's a story that relates to you, especially if it's a story, a personal story from your own life experience. I heard someone say one time, if you're ever public speaking and someone stands up, no matter how old you were, from the time you were 3 years old till you take your last dying breath, if someone says once upon a time, it's got everyone's attention.
Interesting.
Because everyone loves a story. Once upon a time. In fact, I heard a guy in a public speaking class, and he said, if you ever wonder how to open up your talk and you're stuck and you struggle with opening your talk to an audience, step to the front of the stage and say, ladies and gentlemen, once upon a time.
That's really
and
good.
Begin your story.
Dude, that is gold.
Begin your story. So there's power in telling stories. They can't always be about you. They have to relate to the client. So your story should be to connect with the client, to build an affinity, to show relatability, but also maybe to make a point. And that you understand them. And this is how this story fits, acknowledging that you understand them because of what happened to someone else, you know. And so you're able to make this relatable scenario. You're able to highlight a client success story or a testimonial, or make the story personal to create an emotional connection to the client and the client's needs and their family. So sorry to hear that. You know, did you have anything? Like, here's what I hear a lot of agents do. They immediately want to become relatable. So while the client is beginning to tell their story, they jump in and come over the top of the client. I know the very same thing happened to me. And then they'll take away the story from the client and they'll start telling their own. So it's just as effective if the client is telling a story that's important for you to listen, actively listen and acknowledge. But then if you're engaging, make sure your story is relevant to the matter and you're not just coming over the top to tell a story about your bigger fish that you caught, bigger than the one that they caught, because that's irrelevant.
There's another piece to that, Roger. And the thing I like is when I hear a pause after the client has said their piece, because that pause, they may add more to it. That was the piece that mattered the most. And a lot of times people do jump in with a different energy. Like you just said, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And that the desire to relate removes the power in that moment. So that's really good. I'm glad you brought that up.
So 3 ways there for you to improve your communication. Number 1, active listening. Paraphrase the client's words, ask open-ended questions. Use these nonverbal cues, simplify your language, make the complex simple without losing your professionalism, and then use the power of storytelling in an effective way to make the emotional connection to what's really important to the client. I think if you just do those things, even if your grammar is not all proper,
that's okay.
Even if you get the me's and the they's wrong, or them's, me and them, me and them are going out to the pond after. Even if you don't get all that right, these other things will take you 90% of the way there.
Yep.
What else you got? Take us out. Close us out, Chris Ball.
You are one conversation away from changing everything. That's what's exciting to me about this. If you take 1, 2, 3 pieces and plug this into your process or system, you'll know. At the end, you'll know why you got the sale. At the end, you'll know why you didn't get the sale. You find yourself talking over people, that probably has to change. You find yourself talking high technicality, and you'll know after a period of time if people are with you or not throughout this process. So our goal in this was to give you some communication tips that will improve your communication style to get more sales. I hope the previous podcasts were valuable, and just implement, and make a change. Guys, if you get value out of this podcast, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button. Comment below. We jump in. We'll say some stuff. We'll have some fun with you. Below. And share this podcast with maybe some other agents or some folks maybe who are interested in this industry, and they can see the type of training they can get.
And Chris is the most amazing, engaging storyteller, and he's a phenomenal singer. Right before we went on air, you were singing Motley Crue.
I was.
Take us out with Motley Crue, Chris. Take us out.
On our way home, sweet home. There you go.
Tonight.
There he goes.
That's all you get.
There he goes.
That's it.
There
Pull
he
the
goes.
muscle. Right
Anyways, I told him we should open with that. I tried to bring it back. Hope you enjoyed the end.
Blew out the microphone.
For those who stayed on to the end, throw a comment in the end. Let's hear
sorry.
more of Chris Motley Crue. I'd like to see you on stage, dude.
All right.
In leathers.
That's the new
in leathers.
Well, that's on
Rocking it
Thursdays.
out.
That's Thursdays on pizza night at home.
All right.
We'll see you guys on the next Life Insurance Academy podcast.